We want to get a check on the real estate market. 2023 was a tough year for would-be home buyers. Interest rates soared and existing prices remained high. But with borrowing costs expected to come down, 2024 is poised for a real estate rebound. Joining us to talk all about this is real estate expert Uri Mann. And Uri, let's begin with something basic. Are there really better days ahead when it comes to the housing market?
I believe so. I think interest rates are going to be coming down in 2024. With that being said, there are a lot of people that are on the sidelines saying, hey, I'm not going to buy a house until the rates come down. But that's a mistake, because as soon as the interest rates do come down, there's going to be a tremendous number of buyers who have been sitting on the sideline who are going to come in, swoop in, trying to buy homes. And the homes will go up in value even more, even to higher prices than they are today. So if you can afford a mortgage payment of $2,300, $2,500 a month for a $300,000 home, now is a great time to buy a home, because you will be able to refinance in a year from now and the home value will have gone up.
So I think the big question that everyone also has here, and not a lot of people are super savvy when it comes to investing in a home, buying a home. I mean, I'm one of them too, kind of just starting up in this new world, especially with how expensive housing prices have been. Interest rates, now they're expected to decline, but will they go down enough to kickstart the housing market?
I think they will. Right now, people will have to get into the market eventually. There are so many people that are on the sidelines. They've stopped buying homes because they've been thinking interest rates will go down eventually. And people who need to move because their jobs moved them to a new city, or folks that have gotten married or need to downsize, there are going to be more people selling their homes. Right now, the problem is that there's almost no inventory on the market. The only place you can get a new home, and a great place to get a new home, is from a new master plan community, a new builder that's building new homes. That's a great option for people because builders can buy down the interest rates, and they're doing that. So if you come into a builder's office today, you'll be seen by a salesperson who'll tell you, hey, I can get you a rate a lot lower than 7%. And that's a great value for people looking to buy a home right now, buying a new home in a master plan community.
Interest rates fell again this week, and they're down to their lowest point since May. It seems like good news, optimistic outlook. Freddie Mac says the average rate for a 30-year fixed is 6.61%. Now, that's down nearly 1.2% from its high back in October.
Yeah, it's down a lot, so that means there's a lot of savings in your monthly mortgage payment when you come to buy a home. And that basically equates to at least $200 per month in savings. So, and over the course of a loan, that's a tremendous amount of money. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that somebody can save compared to a few months ago buying a home. But really, there's still no inventory in the market. You talk to people who are looking to buy a home. They go into a city and they're looking for existing housing. It's very difficult for somebody to find any kind of home they can fall in love with because people are staying on the sidelines. Most people today who own a home, who purchased in the last 5 to 10 years, have an interest rate well below the rates today. So they don't want to sell their home because they're worried about buying a home with a higher interest rate on their next mortgage. So that, with the combination of COVID making people go out into the suburbs to buy homes, people want more space, all of a sudden we have a light shining on the problem, which is a shortage of housing. We have a shortage of housing in virtually every market in the United States.
I think what you're speaking to here is almost that golden handcuffs effect, that people get such a low rate a few years ago, they feel stuck in their current homes, even if they do need to move. Is that pretty much what you're pointing out to here?
Yeah, that's the double-edged sword. With a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, the United States is really the only country in the world where we have this benefit, this great tool, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, where we can buy a home and get a $300,000 house for a $2,000 payment. If you look at other countries, they mostly have floating rate mortgages, so they're not facing this issue, but they also don't get the benefit of being able to buy a home so affordably. So in the United States right now, people are sitting on the sidelines, like you said, with these golden handcuffs, saying, hey, I got my home with this crazy low rate. It was almost like free money. The last thing I want to do right now is go out and buy a home where my mortgage payment, my interest rate might be close to double what I was able to get just a couple years ago. So people are on the sidelines, but at the end of the day, there's a tremendous demand for housing in the United States. We're not building enough housing, and eventually people are going to come into the market. And as interest rates, even if they only dip a little bit in 2024, you're going to see a rush of buyers coming into the market, and prices will appreciate even more. So for those folks that are worried, hey, I shouldn't buy a house right now, let's just wait for the rates to come down, that could be a big mistake, because the prices could go even higher. And then what did you save yourself? You ended up buying even a more expensive house, and your mortgage payment will be more or less the same.
Okay, so let's kind of contrast existing home sales and new home sales. This last year was the worst for existing sales in more than a decade. Now, which sector between the two do you think is going to increase the most this next year?
Well, I think we will see a lot of the existing housing market come back, because it's done so poorly. So things tend to average out to the median, but the new housing market has still retained a lot of strength. We've seen, for example, in Houston, we've sold more than 40,000 new homes this past year, and that's likely going to continue next year. What's holding it back is the lack of supply of land and lots that are available for development. But there's a tremendous amount of demand for new housing. Generation Z is aging into marriage years, where people want to get married, they want to settle down, they want to buy a house, and that's going to create even more demand for the single family homes in the United States. So I think both the existing housing market will see tremendous increase in volume, and as well as the new home market will continue to be very strong.
You just mentioned a little bit about Houston, Texas. So here at Live Now, we're based out of Phoenix. It's one of the hottest housing markets across the country. Any other cities that you think during this next year are really going to pick up when it comes to those best prices for people trying to buy a home?
Yeah, I think affordable places to buy a home are really going to do very well in the next year. And Houston is perhaps one of the most affordable places to buy a new home, because we have great infrastructure in the city. There's a tremendous number of large master plan communities that are selling homes, and you can buy a brand new home with a beautiful swimming pool for $350,000 in Houston, Texas. Enjoy warm weather and everything that Houston has to offer. The largest port in the nation for foreign-born tonnage, a great Texas medical center. Houston is a great place to live, but there's other great cities around the country that have affordable housing, and that's where you're going to see larger volume of homes being sold.
Okay, I want to get into this new study by Adam. It says that October is the best month to buy a home, and January 9th apparently is the day where buyers consistently say the lowest premiums compared to any other day of the year. Now, is that just a weird coincidence, or are there some analytics behind the scene that make all of this kind of be something to look forward to every year, that consistency?
Well, it's interesting, because this happens almost every year, and a lot of people, there's no exact science to this, but they figure the folks that are buying homes just before Thanksgiving seem to get better deals, because there are people, for example, perhaps there's no exact science to this, but maybe there's people out there that are just making decisions. Hey, I have got to sell my home before the holidays, or I have got to sell my home before the end of the year. And therefore, they're willing to lower their price more than in other months. So what you'll see is, like, the average closing period for a home sale in the United States is around 55 days. So if you take January 9th and you subtract 55 days, guess what? You're in the week before Thanksgiving. And that is when, if somebody went to contract during that week, they might have gotten a better price than typically those homes might sell for a couple weeks later or a couple weeks earlier. And that's why you see that January 9th, the average premium or the average price of a home sale is slightly lower. So people say, hey, January 9th was the best day to buy a home in the United States, because people got better deals. And it may just be a coincidence. We don't know exactly what the science is behind it, but it may be that people just are feeling the sellers are more likely to negotiate on the price in the weeks just before Thanksgiving.
It's interesting. Maybe people just want that fresh start every year for that new year, possibly the like psychology behind it. But everything that we've talked about, Uri, sounds great for people who want to buy and sell a home. And I know that you mentioned it a little bit before, some of the speed bumps when it comes to, well, first of all, the supply is just not there for the demand that we're seeing. So anything else that you foresee is going to prevent the housing market from bouncing back?
Not really. I think there's going to be larger volume in home sales, both in the new market and the existing market. I also feel that interest rates are likely to come down in an election year, so I think there's very little chance that we're going to see the housing market have any sort of correction in the short term. Prices are likely to go up or remain stable, and I think it's a great time to buy a home in the United States. If you can afford that payment today, you may be able to refinance in a year from now and save even more money. But I think there's a good chance that the housing market will significantly appreciate in the next 12 to 18 months.
That all sounds so good. I look at the housing market, and buying a home seems like a pipe dream these days compared to when I was growing up as a kid. So I'm very optimistic with everything you've told us here. Uri Mann, real estate expert. We hope to check in with you soon, and we'll see how this housing market just bounces back in 2024. Fingers crossed.
Thanks for having me, Carel.